New York's classic rock, Q1043.
I say good morning to Liz Marshall. She has written and directed a documentary that is very close to my heart because we all like food. I particularly love meat, and I love the subject of her latest film. It's called Meet the Future. That's MEAT, the future, which you can now see digitally. So that we're not talking about a plant-based product that tastes like meat. We're talking about a man who created a process of using cells from an animal to grow the meat. So it's real meat. I had not heard of this. How did you first hear about this, Liz Marshall? And by the way, kudos on a really thought-provoking film.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, it's a very timely topic because of how unsustainable meat production is in the world, and it's inhumane, and it's the cause of so many public health risks and pandemics. So there needs to be a viable solution. And so back in 2016, when I was introduced to Dr. Uma Belletti, who is, the main person that the film follows over time. I was really intrigued, so compelled by wanting to make a documentary that could really be about the birth of an industry told over time. And he has gone on to become a leading CEO and pioneer in this movement.
And his background is interesting because isn't he a cardiologist? I mean, he started in the medical world.
Yes. So, the film gets to know him as a protagonist, and the reason that I chose to take a character-driven approach to telling a story like this is to humanize it, is to get behind this big idea, which to many is still abstract and perhaps even a bit scary because it's so different, it's so new, it's revolutionary. But by grounding the story, by following a person and his little startup company, which by the way is quite large now, it seemed to be a really effective storytelling method, to really understand this at a deeper level. So Uma Belletti was born and raised in India, and his first big dream was to move to the US and study cardiology, train as a cardiologist at the Mayo Clinic. And he did that, and he went on to become a leading cardiologist. But in 2015, he took a very, very risky, passion-driven career turn, and he co-founded a startup company called Memphis Meats. They've now recently rebranded, and they're Upside Foods now. So the film, we started filming a year later. So in the spring of 2016, that was I think 6 years ago from right now. And they had just moved into their first research and development facility. And you can see in that first really important scene that there's still boxes everywhere, and they're unpacking, and there's just a small team. So it's a fascinating chronology because, from 2016 for 5 years, we chart and chronicle the rise in prominence and acceleration of an idea whose time has come.
Did you actually taste some of this?
I did. I tasted it twice.
Okay, so what did you actually taste, and what was it like?
And I'll just I'll frame that also by saying that I'm an ethical vegan. I don't actually eat meat. I choose to not eat meat for all kinds of reasons. related to issues that I care about, like the environment and animals and all kinds of things. And so, but for me, tasting this was like I had no, like moral conflict with it whatsoever.
Well, no animal died because you're talking about cells that were grown into meat.
Yeah, that's right. So
So what was it like for you?
It was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And
Well, wait a minute. You haven't eaten meat in how long?
Probably since 1989.
So how did your body react? Because this is meat. Did you get sick? Was it weird? And of course, what did it taste like?
I didn't get sick.
Interesting, because as a vegan, you would think you would have, because your body was, not consuming this for so long.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was a small sampling. It wasn't like I ate
A meal.
a big fillet or
Right.
burger. I sampled the poultry product twice, and it was exactly what I remember. Obviously, I'm not the best subject to test on, but it was really incredible experience.
So I'm speaking with Liz Marshall. She wrote and directed Meet the Future, MEAT the Future, which is now available digitally. We're not talking about a plant-based product that's processed that tastes like meat, that tastes like chicken. We're talking about a product that was grown from the cells of animals. How far away are we from this being available in restaurants or supermarkets? Because the cost is astronomical at this point when you're talking about mass production. I mean, first of all, it needs a okay of the FDA and USDA, right? I mean, there's the whole government aspect, but how far away are we, in your opinion, from this becoming part of our reality?
I think it's inevitable. I think it is the future. I think it's a big question as to when it will be scalable in terms of its production to reach the masses at an affordable price point and to be accessible to people rather than it, just being a niche product. So, part of what the film does is it charts the rapid progress of bringing the meat per pound down in cost. So in the first act of the film, the viewer is introduced, and I'm not going to give spoilers. I want everyone to watch this film. So I'll just mention this one piece, which is back in 2016, it cost 18,000 pounds, $18,000. Sorry,
right.
To produce a pound of beef.
Talk about inflation, sticker shock, $18,000 per pound. Okay, that was then.
That was years ago. It has dramatically reduced. Like, I don't want to give spoilers. I want people to see the film. So please watch the film. It's released this week in the US and select territories on Apple TV and other on-demand platforms. People can go to our website, meetthefuture.com. That's MEAT, meetthefuture.com, and you can click and figure out how to watch it wherever you are.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. Of course, the plant-based made meat is processed, and people actually say, some researchers say, that it is more unhealthy in some aspects than the meat that you get from the animals. Now, nutritionally, is this exactly the same? Is it healthier for us? But is it the same in terms of calories, in terms of nutrients, and in terms of fat? It would seem that you could do some controlling here.
So this is a food technology innovation using science as a bedrock towards the, they've really been able to master the texture, the taste, the profile. And I know I'm not a scientist. I'm not a, I'm a filmmaker, and this has been a very immersive experience. So there's a lot that I've learned. I know a lot. I would say I'm like a small E expert at this point. But in terms of the science and the innovative side of things, there's a lot I don't really understand. And the film achieves being able to unpack the basics for the audience. It's not a deep dive film into science or technology. And
so in other words, I'm asking you things that you
no, I know
answer
I can answer the basics, but I just want your
Yeah.
viewers to understand that
you're not the scientist.
that I'm not the scientist, and there's a lot that I can't answer. But what
Right.
I can say is, yes, they can tweak the profile so that it's healthier, that it's a healthier meat for meat consumers than what currently exists. They're able to do that. And the film doesn't make claims or speak definitively about anything, because again, I just want to emphasize that this is not yet on the market. It's inevitable. So for example, Upside Foods, the company that the film follows over time, last fall, they did a major red ribbon cutting ceremony and unveiled the world's largest production facility. So they are able to produce at scale. I don't mean, when I say at scale, I don't mean to feed, all of the United States or the state of California, but they're able to do a lot. And so they're based in California. So it's really fascinating.
Well, the ranchers are not fascinated by this.
Right.
What has been the reaction?
Right. So the film also, we were fortunate to be able to gain access to some historic meetings that took place in the US in 2018 at the United States Department of Agriculture. So the USDA and the FDA, the two regulating bodies, agencies, food agencies, agreed to work together on this to create a pathway to get this to market. And that's still in process. It should be soon. I don't know. I'm not, again, that's not my area of expertise, but what's fascinating, in terms of the film and the story, is that it all happened and is happening so quickly, like in an unprecedented kind of way. So, there's a lot of hopeful anticipation.
And one of the controversies is when it is available at your supermarket, how is it going to be labeled? Is it going to be, cell grown chicken or what? Because you want transparency in your labeling, but on the other hand, you don't want people to think, well, this isn't real.
Yeah, exactly. So labeling, what to call it on labels is, has been a struggle. And that is also reflected in the film, but that battle continues. And the Good Food Institute is really, a lobby group, not-for-profit group in the US that is tackling that. They're tackling that because, there needs to be fair labeling.
Right,
and this, to answer your question before, this is meat. It's identical to, at the cellular level, it's identical to meat. It's
just grown in a lab.
It's grown outside of an animal.
Outside of the body.
They take a painless biopsy, which is the size of a, pea or something. It's very small. You see that in the film, in the first act. The steps are shown. They take that biopsy and those that, it has billions of cells in it, and it proliferates and they grow, and then they harvest it into meat. And
unfortunately, to learn more, you have to go online, watch Meet the Future. That's MEAT, The Future, a film written and directed by Liz Marshall. And coming up next, we're going to talk about saving the game, and that would be the game of baseball. That's next, Q104.3.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.